All right, here we are for the very last legislative update. This, I guess, would be a legislative report on the 2022 session. So if you are on the email list through SMART, you have got a copy that has a breakdown of all the bills that we dealt with this session. All I'm going to go over on this one are the ones that have changed since the last report, so don't bore you with every single bill. And real quick on that, I know how firefighters are. Some people might be looking at this, like looking at all those bills, like why are we even dealing with all those when we only had so many legislative priorities coming out of convention, right? We had 3. These are all bills that come up that we have to deal with. So yes, they're the bills that we get somebody to sponsor, to file, that we fight for and we lobby for. But in the meantime, lots of other bills are always going to pop up that deal with firefighters, some of them positive, some of them negative, and we have to deal with those. So these are all the bills that have popped up that we had to have a voice in and deal with. So getting into it, start off with House Bill 49, which is the pension spiking bill. When we left it, it had been delivered to the governor. That was signed into law on April the 8th. Now again, on 49, this is, there's 3 aspects to it, and I'll do a little bit of a better video just to focus on it, just to hit the highlights right now though. The first part of it is that if the National Guard is called into an area, that's automatically considered a state of emergency. And according to the law that was initially written years ago, no overtime work during a state of emergency is supposed to count against you, but we know that that isn't necessarily happening right now, but we do have an appeal in to hopefully get that cleared up. Another aspect that has nothing to do with the state of emergency is just mandatory overtime. The first 100 hours of mandatory overtime in any fiscal year does not count as a spike. So that doesn't matter what it's for, but if it's mandatory, in other words, your employer says you cannot go home, you must stay here, that does not count as a spike. And the third part is with that state of emergency language that already existed that said overtime work during a state of emergency doesn't count as a spike. They also added the words, and as a result of. We're hoping that clears things up. Again, we've got some people that have a hearing next month, so should have some more clarity at that. So we cannot promise. Does this mean this fixes everything? I can't guarantee you that somebody on that board or some government functionary that looks at somebody's case isn't going to make a decision that doesn't go along with the law, and we have to appeal it. Look at the guys that are having to appeal it right now, but certainly this is pushing us in the right direction. House Bill 227, that was the First Responders Day. It's a pretty harmless bill, but it died on the consent calendar, never got passed out and sent on to the governor. House Bill 297, this was a pension cleanup bill, but it also included language in there that dealt with the CERS system was having to pay a lot of bills for the KERS system, and this put a moratorium on that, said, look, we'll do this for like 2 more years and then it's over. That initially was vetoed by the governor for other reasons. There was some other stuff in there that he didn't like, but the veto occurred. During that veto session, House and Senate came back, they overrode the veto, so that was delivered to the Secretary of the State. So that is good for us for CERS. House Bill 414, this was the one that dealt with kind of the rights of the accused. If you have a citizen complaint, that you have a right to know what's going on, etc. Really more a police bill, just kind of tangentially dealt with us. The governor did not sign it, but he did not veto it, so it became law without a signature. So that one's done as well. 562 was signed into law on April the 8th. That was the one that dealt with if you experience a traumatic event while on duty, you finish out your shift, you can have up to 48 hours off. Again, we kind of already have 48 hours off, but if you were going to get mandatoried, this would give an opportunity that you could turn down that mandatory without punishment. But again, it's going to be up to the municipality to decide if that time off is paid or unpaid. But again, with our schedule, it doesn't fit cleanly, but it's a good bill going in the right direction. Dealing with mental health, which obviously is a huge issue for us. House Bill 777, that was the EMS bill that went through all kinds of morphing and changing and reductions and redactions and withdrawals and reentries, and finally did get passed, signed into law on April the 8th. On the Senate side, Senate Bill 27, which deals with the part-time fire commission instructors, that was signed into law on 3/30. Senate Bill 209, this is our House Bill 169 was folded into it. Senate Bill 209, this is our retiree insurance bill. This one was signed into law on April the 8th. Again, I'll go into more detail with that. I'll put out a separate video that just deals with that so you can have some more education on that. We know it's not perfect, but to go to a Republican supermajority and a very conservative Republican supermajority in both the House and the Senate and convince them to spend an extra $15+ million a year in budget dollars that they didn't have to do, this is a big step forward for our people, and hopefully in a few years down the road we can even get a little bit further. Senate Bill 224. Now I want to talk about this real quick. That is Lexington's pension bill. I'd heard back from some folks with the Lexington Fire Department, why isn't the state working for us? We are. But we very purposely, and for anybody else around the state that doesn't know, Lexington Police and Fire, Fayette County Police and Fire have their own pension. It's a separate pension system compared to the rest of the state that has the CERS, KERS. We purposely, when it comes to those that are very specific to Lexington, we don't necessarily put that way out in front. We allow Lexington to take the lead on that, and obviously we support them. We lobby on their behalf as well, but we don't push it out to the general public as big. And the reason being is sometimes there are issues. Lexington still has a pension system that is superior to what the rest of the state has, and we don't want to mess with that. We don't want to shine a big light on that and then have somebody say, well, why are they getting something better than the rest of the state, and start knocking them back. In fact, Lexington's own George Brown started kind of doing that in committee hearing. But if we look back to 2013 when Tier 3 was created by the state, that very same year, Lexington had a bill going through about their pension that was actually securing it, shoring it up, making it a little bit better, and they were not touched when the state got hammered with that establishment of the Tier 3. So whereas the KPFF and all of us, we lost the fight that year, Lexington, which we kept silent and quiet and off to the side, was able to win their battles and retain that pension system. So I promise you that we are obviously fighting on behalf of all firefighters around the state, to include those in Lexington, but when it comes to some of those pension issues, we purposely don't want to shine a bright light on that and bring attention that could be negative. So that is pretty much the end for this session. If you have any questions, any concerns about any of these bills, hit me up anytime. You've got my cell number, you've got my email. Let me know with any questions. Same with President Baer, same with Secretary Treasurer Pletsky. It's been a decent session for us. If you can go through a session and just not lose anything, that's a good session. And not only did we not lose anything, we actually gained a little bit in a couple different places. So this has been a pretty good one for firefighters. As always, stay safe out there. Keep being you, keep being awesome, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.